Good evening. How are you? It's Tuesday night. It's the day after Memorial Day. Hope you had a good event, a good time. Let me check something real quick here. Make sure we're working in multiple areas. Don't know how that's going to go. How are you tonight? I think sad. Sad because it seems like it's been 12 days since the last time I streamed. And I look at my shirt and it's like kind of wrinkly. It's just not good. Anyway, I'm sorry. I just things happen sometimes and I don't get to live stream like on a regular basis. And then there's sometimes where I just don't have any information to stream about, so I get upset. So anyway, we're gonna have a pretty good show tonight. I'm pretty pumped actually. We're gonna have a story about a cat, a story about some showings that I had this weekend. We're gonna talk about a controversial law in Florida. It's already being appealed. Suit has been brought. And we won't do any tweets tonight. We're not going to do any. In fact, we're not going to really follow the normal format of the show because I'm just not there tonight. So if you can hear me, that's great. If you can't, I'm sorry. I don't know. We're just going to go through it. So, yeah. Terrible intro, but I apologize. I might not go the full hour tonight. I'm running late. It's like 10:15 Central, and I just don't know. We'll just see how it goes. I'm kind of excited. We'll see. Anyway, one thing I wanted to do was get into, I do need to customize my layout. I really do. I'm very disappointed with myself for not doing that yet. I'm going to try this, and I'm going to try and present something. Share my screen. I'm going to go here, but that's not good. I need to fix that first. Go here. I know this is good streaming, so here we go. So we go here, go there, then we go back to here. And that looks terrible. Looks terrible, and I'm sorry. So we will go to this one. This is the one I like. Although I don't like being really close to the screen like that. Anyway. If you look at that, if you can see that on your television, if you can see that on your phone, you will see that the current 30-year fixed mortgage rate is below 7. Yay. 6.95%, a drop of 19 basis points basically since Friday, because the market wasn't open Saturday and Sunday and Monday. No one was working those days. So, it's just not good. It's just not good. So, for those of you who may not know, in an offer, usually, at least in the St. Louis market, you have a mortgage rate cap that you can put in the offer. So you can say, we're going to buy this house on a 30-year fixed at X percent, and if it goes above that percent, we are not obligated to buy this house. Most agents in this market don't care about that. They don't pay attention to it. I've always been kind of interested in it. And the reason why is because what normally happens is buyers will start working with me early, maybe 6 months to a year before they actually buy. And they'll say, and the rates may be like, say, 5%, okay? Or some of the people I've been working with for years, the mortgage rates were 3%. Anyway, they sit there and they have this in their mind, they have the payment in their mind and totally good. When they finally go to buy, it turns out it's 5%, it's 7%. And then they're like, oh my God, we can't afford this house. We can't. And then you may say, well, that's dumb. How can a buyer be so stupid as to not know what the rates are every day? It's not something people pay attention to. What they want more than anything is to buy a house. They don't really look at the rates. I say the majority. Now, some people do, but for the majority, people aren't paying attention to that. And so I always like to put something in the offer that says, look, if rates go above this number, we're out. And I'm not ashamed by that on the buyer side. And on the seller side, as the agent, as the listing agent, I'm cognizant that some agent might put that in their offer, and I don't find that to be offensive. I mean, can you imagine, like, things change, okay? If we're in a world of 5% 30-year fixed, okay, and it changes to 7% 30-year fixed, that's a whole different marketplace, or it had been up until this year, when something is causing people to buy houses no matter what. And we're going to get into that a couple of times. Now, I just gave you that situation. So we're at what 6.95%. So I mean, this isn't good. Now, going into the weekend, we were above 7. So I thought that would provide a cooling of the demand in the St. Louis market. Now, I can't tell you about Florida. I can't tell you about Arizona. My suspicion is that where there were places where there were these iBuyers buying all kinds of property, like back when Zillow decided they were going to be a brokerage and be a house flipper, back when, I don't know, Open Door and all those companies were, hey, it's a great idea to sell your house to these people. Back then, like in Phoenix, I know they were very, very active there. Those markets seem to have taken a hit, okay? But not in St. Louis. Now, I don't know if we just didn't have enough. I know we have Open Door and we have some of the other ones operating here, but I don't know. I mean, they certainly didn't buy at the levels that they bought in other places. I can guarantee you that. So that's that. I did just want to show you that that situation for the mortgage rates. It occurs to me that 6 minutes in, you probably don't know what's going on. You've probably clicked on this video and you're like, what have I done? Well, I just want to introduce myself. My name is John Schenk. I'm the founder and managing broker of Deerwood Realty in St. Louis, Missouri. We're a small residential real estate firm. It's just me right now. It's just me. And I help buyers buy homes and sellers sell theirs. That's what I do. And at night, for the longest time, almost 1,000 videos now, I've done a live stream. It's the Deerwood Realty live stream. Deerwood Realty and Friends podcast. If you're looking for it on Apple and something like, or Spotify or something like that, I'm there. You can find me. So if you're in your car and you want to just talk about real estate or all the other things that I'm going to talk about tonight, I'll be there for you. So be sure to check it out. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. An odd thing has happened. So I have not streamed, like I said, in probably 12 days, okay? And before that, it was spotty. I'd only streamed twice in a row. I've been getting tired at night, just blatantly tired, and I don't know, tonight I'm just ready to go. But, and I know why. I'll tell you why. I had stopped drinking caffeine. I'd stopped drinking any caffeine, and I'd stopped with soda, and all of a sudden, I've started my soda again, my Dr. Pepper, and I am wired at night. I'm ready to go. So I'm not proud of it, but it is what it is. But anyway, it's just been a wild ride, and I don't know. That's where we're at. I also lost my train of thought, and that's why it went quiet. So we've talked about what we're going to see, what we're going to talk about on the show tonight. Talk about who I am. I don't know who you are. I apologize. I have like 3 followers that like actually pay attention. Oh, that's the topic that I want to talk about. So I'm getting my drink here, and I got Powerade. I'm not proud that it's Powerade over Gatorade, but I have it. So if you're on the YouTube, like anymore, you have to do shorts. And so we do shorts of the show. Just certain stuff I say. We take stuff out of context and put it up as a short. And then sometimes people subscribe and sometimes people don't, but it's what we do. And my buddy was saying, hey, I don't have enough content to even do shorts right now, John. You got to get back on the ball here. And I totally wanted to. Just things came up. But anyway, we did a couple shows and we had some shorts to do out of it. Well, I actually picked up like 5 or 6 followers just on shorts while I haven't been doing anything, which makes you wonder, You may say, what does that make you wonder? Well, it makes you wonder, like, why would my shorts, when I don't post live streams, do better than my live streams? Like, why is no one watching my live streams? It's not easy. It's not easy. I don't have like a niche audience. There's not anyone in the world that wants to watch or talk about real estate all the time. And when you're in my position where you do want to talk about real estate, you do want to talk about sales and nationwide trends and whatnot, you look for other places where there's been a following of a topic. And so here's what I've come up with. On sports, okay? Let's just take like football, okay? Pro football or college football. There are people that their entire lives revolve around football. Not necessarily like a player or a coach or even someone in the front office, but like the average fan. The average fan lives and dies by how these football teams do, okay? And to help with that, to assist in that, that passion, there are writers and bloggers and vloggers that sit there all day long and talk about the team. What should the Giants do? Like, do they need a new quarterback? Right? That's something you can talk about all day long. You know, how far are the Giants under the cap? I'm using the Giants because we used to have the Rams in St. Louis. That was when the NFL hated us, and they still do. The NFL hates St. Louis and its fans, wants nothing to do with them. And the owner of the Rams is from St. Louis or from Missouri, and just absolutely just crushed the entire eastern part of the state with his decisions. Not a fan of them in any way, so we use the Giants now. But anyway, so you talk about the Giants and you say, well, you can, how does their offensive line look this year? What running backs, who did they draft? The 7th round pick, Mr. Irrelevant, did they get that guy? How did that turn out? And so you can sit there, and what's their schedule for the year? When is it? When do they go to Europe? When do they go to London? All day long. Talk about that all day long. People will listen. People will enjoy it. It doesn't really come into the real estate space, okay? Like, what do we talk about in real estate? We talk about national statistics. So houses, people are buying more houses. People are buying less houses. But, like, we don't get into, like, individual transactions, and I've been trying to. But you have to respect, like, the privacy of the people involved, right? So I can't really say, well, so-and-so did this or that with any degree of accuracy, or else people are going to figure out what I'm talking about. I can't talk about deals. It's very strange. It's very strange. And as far as from a business perspective, I don't have any interest in telling you like what my receipts were for the year or for the month. But that's where I want to go. I'd love to sit there and armchair quarterback like a deal. And I will, because there's one tonight where it's just like, the hell? There's 2 deals this weekend where like, I have no idea what the people were thinking. But anyway, my goal, like for listings at least, was to bring like a more like realistic, like here's a listing, these are my friends, this is their house, and maybe after it got listed and everything, like, kind of go through it. But even then, it's like, you don't really want to hurt your reputation with your clients by telling them that you have a YouTube channel that talks about real estate in a live stream format. I don't know. We're going to do some strange things. We're going to do some. I don't know if you ever watched The Quartering. I don't really watch The Quartering all the time. Every once in a while, I'll see something that piques my interest. But he does a very good job of finding something that people are searching about, makes a 10-minute video about the news, of this search, and then does another one and another one and another one. So like 6 a day. Seems to work for him. It doesn't work for me so much because I don't like to go through the polishing of the editing of the, of the graphics. I just don't care. And you say, well, that's why you've only got, I think I've got 168 followers on YouTube, subscribers. See, that's the reason. It could be that. It could be that. Here's one for you. I saw this on Twitter, and I haven't really talked about it a lot because I don't know what to think about it. But I'll try to explain it. There are a few YouTube channels, real estate related, that all the content they put out is the real estate market's going to crash. And it's always in like these big bold letters, and like it's always in a dramatic way that these videos are set up. And there's always these statistics that say the market's going to go to hell, get out now. And it's been going on for at least 2 years. And these channels are getting huge followings, okay? And they're making bank. $60,000 and $70,000 a month they're clearing on YouTube to make these videos about how the market's going to tank. It's just not who I am. Here's my problem. As soon as I cough. How do you make the turn with let's say I respect my audience. How do you make the turn from like the real estate market's going to crash to, oh my God, the real estate market's great? You just told people for 2 years or 3 years that the market's going to crash, it's going to be terrible. And then you go, and as soon as you see statistics that you would seem to think other people would want to search, you use those topics, and then it's like, it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. I don't want to be that guy. And so I'm with my 168 followers, some of which I suspect are people that were watching a short and accidentally hit the wrong button. They were trying to swipe right or get me off the channel, but they hit the button anyway, and now they don't know why they're subscribed to my channel. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Another drink, because I coughed. You saw it. Okay. Now, I don't know if you like AI, like open AI, or what you think of that kind of stuff, but I'm enjoying it, okay? I think it can bring a layer of excitement and interest to any broadcast. And so we're going to bring it. We're going to bring it to our show. Now, I don't know exactly how it's going to work, but we're going to do it, and we're going to do it tonight. So I want to tell you a story. I want to tell you a story about something that I saw on Facebook. And I'm going to, I put in the AI, here's what I think. Okay, here's what happened. And then I said, can you organize my thoughts? Because I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm a little bit scatterbrained. Here, can you organize my thoughts in a way that I can tell you a story that, has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it's compelling? Well, the story that it wrote wasn't very good, but we're going to read it, okay? And then we'll go over it, from my perspective. But here we go. Now, this happened, but I don't have the video to show you because it was taken down. But I was scrolling through Facebook, and I don't know, how do I explain my thoughts on Facebook? I don't feel like Facebook, I feel like it's for older people. And nothing in my Facebook, what they suggest for me, is interesting. It's usually wrestling related, and I don't really like wrestling. I'll be honest with you, pro wrestling isn't something I'm paying attention to. So that's weird. But anyway, so I'm scrolling and I see a message from a friend. And when I say a friend, I mean somebody like a friend. Not like a Facebook friend. I would say more than that, just like it's just like a real friend. So the post, it was a plea for help. It said, it was a picture of a cat, and it said, that, hey, I found this cat wandering the neighborhood. We have a found cat. If you know anything, please, please message me or something like that. And the cat in the picture was like a little playful cat. I think it had like a little feather or something, and like those little feather toys. I don't know a lot about cats. I'm not gonna lie. Don't have anything against them, but I don't know a whole lot about cats. So my friend has posted like, hey, I found a cat. And like, if you know the owner or if you're the owner, please come and get your cat. Now I think about this myself and like, I don't know how you would catch a cat. Like, how does that? I've been to the vet before and like the cat's normally in like a cat holder. I don't see many people bringing a cat in on a collar, like on a leash. But you put it in a little box. Sometimes they're all angry and they're like, anyway, so I've got this post, and let's just say it's on a Saturday, and let's just say it's on like 2:00. Okay? I'm like, okay, well, my friend found a cat, and like he doesn't live in the same place I do, so I'm not really, like I'm not looking around for cats in my neighborhood, or I know I'm not the owner. So anyway, I was like, then I went on like, there was a wrestling post. And then after that, like, buy this sweater, Then there's a picture of some dude, on a vacation or something. I mean, that's Facebook, right? Just random stuff all in a row. So then I went and did some other things. Probably cut the grass. Maybe showed a house. Get back on the Facebook a couple hours later. See the post again, see like 3 comments, and then one by the original poster, update, the cat is dead. What? What happened? Like, you can't just post, update, the cat is dead. The hell? Like, there's no explanation. There's no details. It's just the cat is dead. And then, like, no one commented then, at that point. Because what do you do? Like, sorry for your loss? But it wasn't your cat. But then it's like, did you injure the cat? Did you kill was the cat dying on its way to your house? What happened? You posted a picture of a happy cat with like a feather. And now you got nothing. So like, I remembered that, and I wanted to, like, ask my followers, ask the audience, what do I do about this situation? Like, what do I do? And so, like, tonight I was going to show you the post so that you could see, what I'm dealing with. Like, I feel like there should be an update about the cat. Like, did you take the cat to the vet? What the hell? That's a weird thing. Am I wrong? The post is gone. And so now I'm stuck in this situation where I'm on my live stream. We have a dead cat, apparently. We have no post about it. The cat was found, the cat was dead. So I asked AI, like, what? I have questions. And like, I don't know what to do. So here's some of the things that chat told me I should do. I could direct message my friend. It says you could direct message your friend to express your concern about the situation. This is likely the best way to get a clear firsthand information about what happened. You could ask about the circumstances that led to the cat's death and why the post was removed. I don't feel like doing that. I feel like if he wanted people to know what happened to the cat, he would post. I mean, he's probably going through trauma. It says public comment if you're comfortable doing so. Watch, I'm not. You might also comment on one of their other posts or on their profile asking for more information about the cat. Now, I did look at the other posts from this person, and one of the posts was happy birthday grandma. Her grandma was wearing one of those big floppy hats at a Mexican restaurant, I believe at the lake. It seems like the wrong place or the wrong post to ask about the cat that's no longer with us. It says, however, it's generally more respectful to ask about sensitive topics like this in private, especially considering the death of the cat. I don't know. It says investigate further. Look for any follow-up posts that might shed light on the situation. Perhaps they've shared an explanation or update that you haven't yet seen. Well, I did look at the other posts, and it's just not there. There's no mention. And it says ask mutual friends if you're uncomfortable reaching out directly. You might check with mutual friends who may have more information. They may have spoken with the person or seen the original post before it was deleted. And that's true. But I don't have any, I'm not really interested in doing the mutual friends thing. And then it gives some highlights. It says, remember, it's important to approach this situation with sensitivity and respect. Well, I agree 100%. Losing a pet or finding an animal that has died can be a traumatic experience. I suspect it's very traumatic. And the person involved might not want to discuss it publicly or privately. I think one of those things is let's just let that one go. Also remember that online communications can sometimes be misunderstood due to lack of tone or context. So it's best to give your friend the benefit of the doubt until you have more information. What am I giving them the benefit of the doubt on? I'm not calling him, I'm not accusing him of being a cat murderer. I'm not even accusing, I have no, it was so far random for me. I mean, it's a sad story, but a very confusing one. Riveting story to start the live stream tonight. I just open it up to the comment section or open it up to the chat. What would you do if your friend posted that they had found a cat and then hours later the cat has passed in that person's custody? We suspect. Did the cat run away? I mean, I'm trying to figure out how this all went down. And I hate to say this, but maybe they should give the audience more of a benefit of the doubt. Maybe they should tell me, why, what the hell happened? I'm glad I got that out. Now, it's Memorial Day weekend in St. Louis, or it was. And you would think that everything would be dead. I'll tell you, as a real estate agent, I didn't want to show houses on Memorial Day. I wanted to have a barbecue with my friends. I mean, being quite honest. There's certain holidays where it's should you work? I'll tell you one story. One time it was Christmas Day. I'll never forget this. It was Christmas Day. A woman that I knew said, hey, I saw a house. I'd like to see it. I saw a house listed. I'd like to go see it. I was like, it's Christmas today. I'd like to spend time with my family, but you know what? I'd also like to earn a paycheck. So I don't say no very often. So I said, what time do you want to go? She said, I want to go at this time. I met her at the property. We looked at the property, and she said to me, you know, this house isn't 1,600 square feet. There's no way. I said, no, it's not 1,600 square feet. I said, it's 800 square feet, and there's an 800 square foot basement. It's just the way the listing is on Zillow that shows it as a 1,600 square foot house when it's actually an 800 square foot house. Now, you can, different places are going to give you different numbers. This was the standard for us in the St. Louis market for years. We've now strayed from that, even in our own listings. So it's just, you know, houses didn't magically double in size and become, you know, half the price. Anyway, I mean, if your agent leads you to believe that, then you're not in good hands. But anyway, so I said, yeah, no, it's not. And she said, well, you know what? I appreciate that. I don't think I'm going to buy this house. I said, okay, well, let me know anytime down the road you'd like to sell. Just give me a call, or like to buy something, give me a call. Well, turns out, now I showed this house on Christmas to be a nice person. I really did. Turns out, a couple months later, I see that she listed her house with another agent. Now, how did I find that out? Well, I look at the listings in my zip code every day to see what's on the market. And sure enough, her house came up, the address came up, and I hadn't listed it. She hadn't called me. She moved to Illinois, and I don't miss her. And you know what? This is the thanks I get for showing a house on Christmas Day. So anyway, Memorial Day comes by. I will always remember that, okay? You're not a good person if you do that to somebody. And she had been an agent in the past, so that made it even more galling. But I didn't want to show houses this weekend, but if you're in a situation where you're listing homes, you also kind of don't want to list houses over the weekend, because if you do list a house, you'll be working all weekend, and it's a holiday weekend. So you've put yourself in a spot where you've now taken the holiday weekend and ruined it. But anyway, Friday night, let's not do that one. Let's do the ones I showed 2 condos on Saturday. Let me tell you about the first one. The first one, it's listed for like $25,000 or $30,000 below what a decent selling condo would go for in this complex. So automatically, that's a red flag for me. Agents aren't dumb in large, like en masse. They may do dumb things, but they typically don't list houses for less than they're worth unless it's a strategy to get you to the house, unless they're not comfortable with that listing. So anyway, I knew this, and the buyer I know is looking for a deal, so I knew I was going to get stuck going to see this condo. Now, here's the thing about the condo. We go in, now you see, like, look, when you go on the MLS, or you go to your Zillow, or you go wherever you go and you look at listings, like there's these ones called like Zillow Gone Wild, and it's like, ha, there's crappy listing pictures. This is a terrible listing. Well, that was this was one of those places. Now, look, there's reasons sometimes that a listing is crappy. Like, let me give you an example. Let's just say your grandma was on meth and she died in her house, okay? And you lived in a different state. And they got the body out, and now you got to get rid of this house. You got to sell it. You're the heir to the house or condo, and you've got to sell it. So you call an agent, you look online, you find an agent, you say, I just need to sell this house. It's in probate. So they go in and they just take pictures. You know, I mean, ugh. So this listing was all of that and more. I mean, there were gloves. There were blue medical gloves on the carpet next to the bathroom, which was from 1960, as well as the entire house. I mean, this was disgusting. This was one of the things I like to call a shower house. That is, as soon as I get done, I want to take a shower because it's so gross. A lot of people think that real estate agents have all these wonderful high-dollar listings. Every single listing that they have is like $1 million listing, and it's just wonderful. But people are pigs, like in general. They don't always keep their houses nice. And when grandma dies and you're 2 states away, you don't really pay too much attention to the house. So anyway, I go show the house. Now, the listing says we will not accept any offer acceptance not for 25 days. And we have the right to negotiate any offer within those 25 days. So what are we doing here? Oh, by the way, that's pending probate court approval. So now I'm going to tell my buyer, hey, write an offer today. They're not going to make a decision for 25 days. And then when they do, this whole time they may just be, running back and forth between offers to try and get the highest offer, in no way to your benefit as the buyer. I mean, like, how would that be good for my client? Now, if they put an offer on this, they can't go look for another condo for the next, 60 days because you have to close. It was a terrible setup. You say, well, John, if it was such a terrible setup, why did you show your client the house? It's a condo. I say house and condo interchangeably. Well, I'll tell you why. I feel bad when I don't show people things they want to see. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I'll pay attention to it. But it just, like, that is the perfect place for, like, an investor who doesn't care when they get the property. They just care if they get the property. Okay, so I had another showing. Now I want to go through this one because it was fascinating to me as well. There's a condo, okay? It's listed around the right price. The pictures are pretty decent online, and my buyer sees it, texts me and says, hey, I'd like to see this condo. Sure thing. Now, you may be of the opinion, okay, that people work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and then they go look at houses after 5 or on the weekends. That would not be wrong. But I've noticed that buyers that are really interested in buying property tend to find a way to go see a property that's not between 9 and, not after 5 on the weekdays and on the weekends. They tend to find a way to get to the house during the day. It's very weird how that happens. I don't know why, but it's also, we have other people that just don't have, 9 to 5 jobs. And so they may be, any number of jobs. So I have this client, and she is a hairstylist. Now you might think that's ironic because, I have no hair. So it's not my hairstylist because I don't have one. But anyway, it's a self-deprecating humor there. That's what that was. So, she texted me, hey, I'd like to see this property. And I said, okay, I'd like to show you this property. Go to the listing. No show till the open house, which is on Sunday. My client works on Sundays. She cuts hair on Sundays. This is what she does. I'm like, ugh. I like when my buyer can see the property, think about it for like 10 minutes, and then write an offer. Maybe think about it overnight and then write an offer. I despise the situation where it's no show till open house, and I can't show the house because my buyer's working. Buyer gets off work at 6. I text the agent. I say, hey, can I show the house at 6? They're like, sure. Buyer's working. I can't show it at your open house at 1. Get to about 4 o'clock on Sunday. Get a text from the listing agent, hey, the house went pending. The condo went pending. I say, what? What do you mean what do you mean it went pending? You just started showings at did someone write an offer at the open house? She said, yes. An agent came with their buyers and wrote an offer at the open house, and my seller accepted it. That didn't make any sense to me. See, there's something up with that. That wasn't an above board deal. Because why would you restrict the showings to the open house and then take an offer that was at the open house when you could have had more offers come in. She said, do you want to show the house anyway? I said, yes. I said, I'd like to see what this condo was so great. I mean, you're in a 1,000-unit complex. Why is this one? Why does it need to have only show at the open house and then get an offer on it and accept it at the open house? Which, by the way, is very rare to ever see someone physically write an offer at an open house. Shenanigans. Shenanigans. You might say, John, why don't you get in the mud and play? And it's like, no. It's like the pocket listings thing. One day somebody's going to have a pocket listing, and then somebody's going to find out that it's a minority that's denied, an underserved, underprivileged group is not being shown the house while other groups are. They're going to file a civil rights complaint, fair housing ethics complaint, and your ass is going to lose your license. That's why I don't do pocket listings. I think they're absolutely ridiculous. I think you want the most people to see the house as possible that are qualified buyers. Understand? I don't have an interest in showing a house that's not with a qualified buyer. But if they are, man, you need to try and get that exposure as best you can within the rules. So, I have one more story. It's like story time tonight. One more story about a showing ad on Friday. Okay. So I have these buyers, and they're good people. Okay. They are not in a position where they have to buy a house. They're in a position where they want to buy a house. They want to buy the right house at the right price at the right time. They don't have to sell their house before they buy a house. This leads to a situation where I wouldn't say they're actually like they like to ponder things, which I like to do too. So I very much relate to them. Anyway, we showed a house on Friday night. It came up on my search, house in University City. It was priced suspiciously low for this market and for this time. So my thought was, well, the agent is concerned about the 7% rates coming up last week that will kill the market, and they're trying to get ahead of that. And it was a nice house. It was what I would call, it was a fix and flip. So what it was, an investor had come in and bought the house from, meth-addicted grandma who died. And then they fixed it up to what, was perfect, and they're looking for a big payday. But that had happened to the previous owner. The current owner bought the fix and flip, and now they've gotten the joy of being able to live in the house and find out everything wrong with it that the fix and flipper missed or didn't care about. So to me, those are just golden houses to buy. I mean, that's a good deal when you can find those. So they had that going for it. But anyway, his price too low. And so when my buyers contacted me about it, they're very familiar with the area. They're like, we got to go see this house, don't we? And I'm like, well, I already know what I'm getting into. This is not going to go well. So anyway, I'm going to fix this because it was annoying me. I knew what I was getting into, and I feel like they did too. What we're getting into is a manufactured bidding war, which I hate because I don't win them. Because I want my buyer to have some protections when they buy a property. I don't know, call me old-fashioned. So we go, and the house is great. It has great features. Buyers go home to ponder. I said, I know how this works. I said, whenever you guys make a decision, if you want to write an offer, we want to write it. They said, well, how much do we need to write an offer for? I said, well, this looks like it's at least $25,000, $30,000 too low, based on what we've seen. They say, yeah, we think that's probably true too. So on Sunday, I get a group text from the listing agent that says, hey, if you're going to write an offer, well, we've had an overwhelming response, which means they've had a lot of offers. If you want to adjust your offer, please do so before 6 p.m. Now, I got this text at 5 p.m., and we didn't write an offer. They didn't contact me. So I was like, I've never been a fan, just so you know my strategy. If you ever want to know my strategy as a buyer's agent and you're the listing agent, I've never, ever, ever adjusted my price up when someone sends that email. I always try to put the best offer forward first and not mess around. Because now if I were in that situation, now I've got to go and try and get a bunch of documents signed before in an hour and get them to the agent. And I just don't want to do that. I just don't want to do that. It's just, I don't need all that stress in my life. I would just rather write a good offer and let it sit. If 16 other people want to buy the house and they have a better number, then let them take the house. Maybe you don't want to hear that. Maybe that's not good real estating to you, but that's the way I think about it. So anyway, I texted my buyers and I said, look, they've got multiple offers. They're saying if you want to adjust your offer, you can adjust your offer. Weirdest thing came back. They texted me and they said, hey, John, we were thinking about writing an offer for this number, but it's too late, isn't it? And I said, honestly, I can't turn this in. I cannot turn a new offer in an hour. And they're like, well, the Memorial Day weekend threw us off. We thought we had an extra day. And I know that's what they thought. And I get it. I totally get it. That's why I'm not really, I don't like to pick on my buyers or anything like that. Like you say, why didn't they buy a house before? No, things happen. Memorial Day weekend's a busy weekend, barbecues and whatnot, events around town. It's just not a good real estate weekend, and it certainly wasn't for these folks, these buyers, but it was for the sellers because on Monday, by the way, the listing agent is now working Friday and Sunday and Monday for sure. She sends out an email that said, hey, we found our seller. We're so sorry for you buyers that tried to buy the house and didn't. We had over 30 offers. 5 of them were over $30,000 more than asking price. There were higher offers, but we picked an offer that had no contingencies. That is no financing, no inspection, and no appraisal. We would never write an offer like that. So we would have never have gotten that house. It's kind of a waste of time. But this is what I'm telling you about the St. Louis market. If you have the right house, they're going to get multiple offers right now, even at 7%. It is the most ridiculous market I've ever seen. And it's been this way since before the pandemic. I remember we had to have escalation clauses before the pandemic for 2019, 2020. So I just don't know. I just don't understand. I just don't understand. You may say, well, John, there's the demographics that people, these people need to buy a house and they have to buy it now and there's no other place to buy a house and there's a shortage of homes and all this stuff. I just don't know, man. At this point, I just don't know. There is a shortage of inventory. I'll give you that because most of the people are stuck in this situation where they've got a 2% mortgage or 3% 30-year fixed mortgage and they're not selling. Unless somebody dies, they're not selling. And so you get all these estate houses or people for some reason that want to move for 7%. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. I suspect that their thoughts are, well, we'll just go ahead and refinance when the rates go down because this has got to happen at some point. But that you can only refinance if you have equity in the property. And how do you have equity in the property if you've paid $50,000 too much? How's that going to work? I don't know. Finally, I want to transition. This will be the last thing we talk about. It's a news article that I saw. I'm gonna go ahead and share the screen so that you can see it. Let me do my button switching. Now I don't want to get into political. I didn't share it properly. I don't want to get in the political DeSantis, Trump / whatever. I just want to get into this particular article, and I wanted to go over it with you. It says, it says DeSantis bans Chinese agents and citizens of other countries of concern from buying real estate in Florida. Now that seems like, it seems iffy. It seems iffy. And I don't mean like, it just seems iffy. So anyway, then it's got this picture here, and you can probably see it. You can maybe make your own inference there. It says Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed legislation Monday. Now this is from the 8th. Now I'm sorry, I just haven't been streaming that much. That bans citizens from countries of concern, including China, from purchasing property in the Sunshine State. So what they're saying is if you're not a United States citizen and you are trying to buy property and you're from one of these countries of concern, you're not allowed to do so. It says the new laws, which DeSantis characterized as a crackdown on communist China, prevent foreign entities and officers from China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, Cuba, Venezuela, and Syria from buying farmland or any property within 10 miles of a military installation, seaport, airport, power plant, water treatment facility, or any other location deemed critical infrastructure. Always dangerous there. What isn't critical infrastructure? I mean, I would say like a major pipeline of gas could go through a residential area, neighborhood, and therefore you could block off the whole neighborhood from purchase. Now, I think a bigger question is should non-citizens of the United States be able to buy property in the United States? I mean, that's the other thing. Preventing entities from China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, Cuba, Venezuela, and Syria, are we to assume that people in Ukraine are on the up and up? What about those pesky Irish? I don't know. It's odd to me. First, here's why. One reason is because it's the state and not the federal government. Like you would think that if it was a U.S. Army military base, that the federal government would be concerned enough to, pass some sort of legislation that, it might go through Congress. You might have an executive, you might have some sort of federal action. It doesn't like to fall on the state to take care of it. It's just kind of iffy. It says the new law also bans citizens from those countries of concern who are not lawfully permanent U.S. residents from owning any real estate in Florida. So, but why did we all of a sudden, why did we make the switch from, you can't buy, you can't get anything within these, these areas, these 10 miles of these there, but now all of a sudden in this next one, you can't buy anything at all. It says anyone connected with the Chinese government or the Chinese Communist Party is also barred from purchasing real estate in Florida under the new laws. I mean, there was a time when Japan was eating our lunch in the 80s. I mean, they were just, and I don't believe that they were stopped from purchasing property. There was a time when there was a port for sale and the Chinese bought it, or they were going to buy it, and then the United States said, you can't buy it, but then they put in a shell company, so they bought it that way. I mean, look at Smithfield Foods. I mean, the entire pork production, or a good amount of it, is owned by the Chinese government in the United States. So this is an odd situation, because we don't always know who our enemies are. It's very odd. Florida's taking action To stand against the United States' greatest geopolitical threat, the Chinese Communist Party, DeSantis said on Monday during the bill signing ceremony. Now look, I think there's many countries that are not friendly with the United States. Anyway, I'm proud to sign this legislation to stop the purchase of our farmland and land near our military bases and critical infrastructure by Chinese agents to stop sensitive digital data from being stored in China, which doesn't make any sense, and to stop CCP influence in our education system from grade school to grad school. We're following through on our commitment to crack down on communist China. Those knowingly selling property in violation of the new regulations may be subject to civil and criminal penalties. And the new laws allow the state to seize property improperly obtained by foreign nationals. I don't even know what to make of that. Like, now we're seizing property. Anytime the government seizes something, I get uncomfortable. The legislation also prohibits state colleges and universities from soliciting or accepting gifts and grants from foreign countries of concern and bans private schools from being owned or controlled by adversarial nations. Now, you're going to have a hard time explaining to me, like, how does that benefit Florida or not benefit? If every other state is taking money from China at their schools and universities, and you're not, it seems like it's going to put you behind. It says, they have established a position of economic might, of industrial hegemony, and their military is far stronger today than it was 20 or 25 years ago. They have a leader who's very ideological and intent on expanding CCP influence, not just in their region, but even around the globe. Oh, there's no question. The United States, like in these foreign countries, the United States scolds the government, and the Chinese government goes over there and builds some roads. It's not hard to figure out who they're going to pay attention to. He also laid blame for China's increasing might on elites in our own country who for a generation have favored short-term profits by getting in bed with Beijing. Well, we've been sold out to China since Nixon. It's been more than a generation. I don't think that should be a surprise to anyone. It says Florida House Minority Leader Fentress Driscoll, a Democrat, opposed the legislation, arguing that it was overly broad and veered into the area of national origin discrimination. Now, I'm kind of one of those odd people that thinks if you have citizenship, okay, you should only be of one country. I don't believe in dual citizenship, especially when it comes to the United States. So I don't think you should have a United States and China passport, because that wouldn't make any sense. You can have one or the other. But I really get uncomfortable with like a country of concern and just kind of choosing these countries. But anyway, then it says DeSantis, who last month wrapped up a trade mission that took him to Japan, South Korea, Israel, and the United Kingdom, is believed to consider a 2024 run with an announcement expected as soon as this month. As far as I know, he announced on Twitter Spaces that he's running. Am I wrong to think that like a governor needs some, how should I put it, needs some foreign policy chops on his record to be a stronger candidate for president? And am I wrong? Like, if you did use this particular moment and this particular opportunity to advance your own career over denying people the right to own property? Like in your state? Seems kind of shallow. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I went to the old chat to ask the AI chat to ask, like, hey, like, let's figure this out. There's certain questions that I ask, like, I have questions, and so I was kind of curious. Here's some of the questions. The legal question: is this legislation constitutional? Does it violate any federal laws or international treaties? Well, do I care about international treaties as a citizen of the United States? No, I care about none of them. I hate treaties. I think they're terrible. Number 2, can this law be challenged in court? If so, on what grounds? I suspect everything is litigious these days. Policy intent questions: what is the specific threat that this legislation is addressing? Well, I think I can answer that. I think there is a narrative that is probably true, that the Chinese government is behind land purchases close to military installations in the United States, and that seems like a bad idea. But if you look at how much is owned by the U.S. government as far as military installations, it's quite a shocking amount of property. And then why were these specific countries chosen and not others? What criteria were used to identify them as countries of concern? I agree with that. How does like Iraq not make it? No offense to Iraq. How does some of these other countries, like, how do they not get on there? I don't feel like we have a lot of friends in the entire world. Implementation questions: how would the law be enforced? Who will be responsible for its enforcement? Yes, I think that's reasonable. Are you going to make the title companies responsible for running citizenship checks on people? Isn't that kind of, it just seems like it veers into a bad situation. Like a possible discrimination about anyone of an Asian descent. Now, if you see someone coming in, do you say, like, I need to see are you a citizen of the United States? If you look Asian, now I need more information to prove that this gets really, really dicey. How will the state verify the nationality of the potential buyers? Well, is the state even going to be the ones that are going to be doing that? Are you going to, you're going to put that on real estate agents. That's why I'm talking about it. Then there's implication questions. What are the potential repercussions for U.S. citizens from these countries looking to buy property in Florida? Will that make prices go down? Is that a benefit for the citizens of the state? And the repercussions for the U.S. citizens there should be no problems for anyone in the United States. What impact might this have on Florida's real estate market? Well, shouldn't that make prices go down? How could this law affect Florida's relationship with these countries and their citizens? Probably not going to affect it very much. It's probably not going to make them very happy. I don't think there's going to be a lot of people in communist China that are like, hey, let's move to Florida anytime soon. Future and precedent questions. Could this legislation set a precedent for other states to pass similar laws? I think that they're obviously coming. How could they not be? What might the long-term consequences of this law for Florida and the U.S. be in general? Well, that's a good question. How much goodwill has the United States burned up in the past 20 years with the endless wars? I thought it was kind of interesting, so I asked Chad, I said, is it morally right to do so? Is it morally right to keep citizens from being able to buy property of other countries in the United States? And it was kind of interesting. It said, depending on determining the moral rightness or wrongness of this law involves evaluating it from various ethical perspectives. And this is something that most people miss. And it was very, 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 very well done by the chat AI, because we talk about things like there's an ethics professor that I happen to know, and if you ask him the questions, is this ethical? He'll say, whose ethics? Which is the right answer. Now, as a real estate agent, we're required to take ethics classes in our continuing education. I've always said that's a crock. If someone acts in an unethical manner, it's not because they weren't taught to not be ethical. It's because they were just downright unethical. It's not that they needed to be aware of the ethics of the situation. They're just bad people. It says different cultures and different people and cultures may have different moral compasses, and the answer may depend on the specific ethical framework one uses. Here are a few perspectives, and I totally agree with this. This is why every single policy in the United States is screwed up, because we come from different ethical spectrums, and it's like, it's just insanity. It just ends up being bad. So let's look at it. It says rights-based ethics. From this perspective, it might be considered morally wrong because it seems to infringe on the rights of individuals from certain countries to own property in Florida. This could be seen as a form of discrimination based on nationality. Well, it's interesting. I can see that argument, but again, we're not talking about U.S. citizens here. We're talking about foreign citizens from that have passports or entities from other countries. Now, I just feel like the Chinese government is powerful and smart enough to subvert any sort of law if they really wanted to get some information or some property ownership. I just feel like they could come up with a shell company that probably couldn't be tracked very well. It just seems like something they would be able to do. Utilitarian ethics. A utilitarian might argue that if the law provides the greatest good for the greatest number, for example, by protecting national security of the local economy, then it can be considered morally right. However, this would require evidence that the benefit of the law outweighs the harm done to those it excludes. On a utilitarian ethics basis, there is no question that this is a great move for Florida. It might even be the best move for the United States. Virtue ethics. From a virtue ethics standpoint, the law might be seen as morally wrong if it is believed to stem from or promote a negative character trait such as xenophobia or prejudice. This is fascinating. I've always wondered why certain things, which are obvious to me, don't get called out. It's virtue ethics. It's virtue ethics. I guarantee you that the democratic perspective of the person quoted in the article is coming to it from a virtue ethics basis. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't want you to think, because there's a D behind their name, they're bad, or there's an R. No. I don't mean it that way. I mean just from a virtue basis. And then finally, duty-based ethics, deontology. A deontologist would consider whether the law respects duties and obligations. If the law is viewed as a duty to protect critical infrastructure and maintain national security, it could be seen as morally right. On the other hand, if it's violating duties of fairness or equality, it can be seen as morally wrong. Now look, I really do. I am of the base of the ethics of the four frameworks. I am fine with three of them. I would never do virtue ethics. I really don't. I just don't see the world that way. It's just not in my being. It says in public policy, lawmakers also must balance competing ethical concerns. It's worth noting that in this case, the law might be justified on national security grounds, but still have ethically problematic elements such as potential for discrimination or negative impact on international relations. As such, the public debate and scrutiny are crucial to ensure that the most ethical policy is pursued. Well, that's also fascinating by AI, because look, in many of the things that we've been involved with over the last 20 years, there's been little to no public debate. I'm not talking even about a free speech. I'm talking about public debate, an actual true public debate. The Iraq War. People said, I don't want to be in this war. Other people said, you must be a sympathizer to the regime if you don't agree with the war. I agreed with the war, but I was worried about how it was, what happens after the war. I had no question that the United States military might was much greater than that of Iraq. But my God, would you trust the State Department to be able to run anything? I think my fears were well founded. I mean, hindsight's like what, 2020 all the time? I'm telling you, I was for the Iraq war and it didn't work out. Clearly. But we have this situation here. We don't have a rigorous debate about anything. If you have an opposing view on Ukraine, you're considered a Russian apologist or sympathizer. If you view Ukraine as virtuous, then there's another set of questions. We've had certain, what would we call it, public health policies that have been, I feel like the debate has been, I don't know how to put it, affected. The votes, the presidency, the debate around who should be president, who's the rightful president, has been an issue in more than one contest in the past 20 years. So it's very, very fascinating to tie ethics to public debate to get the best ethical outcome. In this case, the idea of letting citizens of restricted, let's just say restricted countries, or entities from restricted countries purchase land in the state of Florida. It's a fascinating law. It's a fascinating response to something that the federal government probably should have been involved with and isn't. And I've already seen that it's been, they've already been taken to court over it, so it'll take years to unwind. And even if it does unwind in the courts, it may not really give us the answer that really is the most ethical outcome. But anyway, that's going to do it tonight. I was wondering if I could get through a show since I haven't been on in a while. Glad to be on. Look, let's go over a few ground rules. If you've made it this far, thank you. If you have ideas for the show, if you have things you would like me to discuss, put it in the comment section on any of the videos you see, okay? I don't want to talk too much more about the cats because I feel the cat video and the cat post is it's just a weird deal. You can also put it in the chat during the live stream. I have no problems. I do sometimes screw up because there's a latency when someone writes a question versus when I actually answer it. I'm sorry about that. I should make it a point to check the chat from time to time so that it doesn't screw up the flow of the show. I'm just not that good yet. I hope to be better. I'm a 1% every day kind of fellow. That's where I'm at. It's late. I'm going to go to bed. You guys have a great night wherever you are. If you're watching 3 or 4 days from now, I hope you have a good day then, in the future. With that, I'm going to head on out. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch you on the